What's up everybody, it's Megito, and welcome to my first challenge run that is not just a series of videos and a playlist. I've been wanting to do this for quite a while with my Nocturne starting Magatama only run, but unfortunately I didn't plan on doing it like this, and I've forgotten so much from it, and relearning everything I did in that run isn't just worth my time. However, this run is one where I did plan on doing it in this kind of format. So today I'm here to answer the question, can you beat Shin Megami Tensei 4 without Demon Whisper and with only the default armor? Unlike Nocturne in Digital Devil Saga, SMT4 has a system where you can customize your armor. Not only does this increase your natural defense, but it also changes your resistances and your weaknesses. So for the entire game, I'm going to be weak to fire, resistant to ice, and immune to light attacks. Also, unlike Nocturne and Digital Devil Saga, instead of learning skills from mantras or Magatama, Flynn learns skills from his demons after they have obtained every skill they can learn naturally. Without Demon Whisper, I'm going to have to rely on magic attack items as well as magic mirrors and attack mirrors. Because magic items are limited, I'm going to have to be dumping most of my stats into physical until I get the gun attack, and in which I will start dumping my stats into dexterity. So, the rules for this challenge are fairly simple. I cannot switch out my armor, nor can I have any demons whisper to me at any time. Accessories are allowed to be equipped as they do not change your outward appearance. Guns, bullets, and swords can obviously be swapped out as they are not changing your defense. The last and final rule is that you must get the neutral ending. You cannot choose the white ending, and if you end up on the law or chaos endings at the alignment lock, well, hopefully you had an extra save, otherwise you are shit out of luck, my friend. Anyway, with all the rules in place, let's get started. We boot up the game on Citra and see that beautiful HD texture mod, link in the description by the way. We see the iconic cutscene of Flynn flying to the sky. Actually, that's a filthy lie because my recording f***ed up, so the first hour of the game is audio only. So here's a wall of text of everything I did within the first hour. Well, anyway, after everything that you saw on that wall of text, I recruit a griffin and fuse an angel, and then we head back into Naruku to look for Navarre. We come across a hooded man who seems he wants to kill us and proceed to engage in demon fisticuffs. The fight isn't so bad, we just have to fry a Wendigo using Agi and then proceed to fry an entire flock of them with some help from our fellow samurai. Up ahead, we are warned of a strange wall that's been spotted and give next to no fucks, and proceed to enter the wall anyway, which turns out to be a demon's domain. There's a flash of a little girl, and then we see a man that is bound in a wheelchair. His name is Steven. Don't worry, he'll be relevant later. We get to the end of the domain and find Navarre tied up like Jesus on the cross, and then proceed to fight Alrane, who wants to eat us in a seductive manner.
Blood from humans like these is so scrumptious. It has this thick texture that lingers on the tongue.
Thankfully, we get Walter as our partner, which is awesome because Alrane is weak to fire. Other than that, the fight isn't so hard, but she does have poison breath, which my griffin is weak to, but the poison isn't that big of a deal, so I don't bother removing it, and just like Wendigo, just use Agi until she's fried to a crisp. After the fight, we rescue Navarre, who begins to, I guess have a mental breakdown?
Been a carefree life.
Navarre?
Ah, yes, those were the days. I was father and mother's delight.
Navarre, what's the matter? Get a hold of yourself.
Well, anyway, we go to bed and then go to breakfast with Walter and Jonathan in the morning to eat at Lake Mikado. After messing around with them for a bit, we go back to bed once again and are awoken by them to go spy on Isabeau on the roof.
There, it's Isabeau. Let's sneak closer and surprise her. I don't think she'll be very pleased if you try that. That's the idea. I want to see that prim iron mask of hers slip. To see those cold cheeks flush pink.
And whose iron mask are we speaking of?
Ah!
Can't you be voyeurs in silence?
After we have a conversation about what manga is, we see a fire in the distance and learn to find out that it's coming from Flynn's hometown, Kichigeorgi, and proceed to depart. We arrive in Kichigeorgi and then come to find out that Kichigeorgi Forest is up next, and we are tasked with rescuing survivors from the forest. The bosses aren't that big of an issue, and we stomp them like every other encounter we've had thus far. We continue going into the depths of the forest, only to come across our old friend, Isakar. He begins ranting about the luxuries and how he will remain a casualty, and then casually turns his eyes red, and now it's time to fight. The first attempt doesn't go well at all. He one-shots Flynn with a bouncing claw, smirks, and then just wipes out the rest of my party. Yeah, be prepared to see that game over screen a lot in this playthrough. The second attempt goes way smoother, and by that I mean I just get lucky.
Stat, do you remember? We vowed on the shores of Please and change.
We go into the end of the forest and come across someone called the Black Samurai, whom is distributing books that is corrupting the people of Mikado. She escapes, and now we have to break the samurai code and go deep into Naruku, deeper than a samurai is supposed to. We get to the bottom and have to fight our first real boss, Minotaur. And let me tell you something, Minotaur is a bastard. Allow me to tell you why. He has Onikagura, which is low accuracy, but is a guaranteed critical hit if it lands. And then there is his exclusive skill, Labyrinth Strike, which is a mega physical attack that can hit 2 to 3 times if he is lucky. That is just to give you perspective about what we're dealing with here. The first attempt goes okay for the most part, but there are 2 problems with it. One, I get Walter as my partner, which is bad news already because he has Augie, which Minotaur full-on blocks and most likely will make him smirk. 2, Flynn can only use Bufu items, which at this point in the game are severely limited, and I only have 1 Bufula stone. I managed to stay alive for a good few turns, but I didn't deal enough damage in order to get to the dialogue option to decrease his defense, and he manages to kill us with an Onikagura that obviously crits, causing him to smirk, and then he uses Labyrinth Strike to kill my Naga. The second attempt goes about the same, except I do manage to get to the dialogue option. However, he lands a critical hit with Labyrinth Strike, smirks, kills Fomorian with a normal attack, uses Labyrinth Strike again, and then just proceeds to kill Flynn and Naga. It was clear to me at this point that I would not be able to kill him with my current setup, so I grind to level 12 and fuse Pelé, Apsaris, and Jack the Ripper, and then attempt to fight again. I get Walter as my partner, which made me shit a little, but thankfully he doesn't use Augie at any point in the fight. In fact, it was probably for the best that Minotaur did kill him towards the end. Well, anyway, with me actually being suited for this fight, I take down Minotaur like he was nothing.
No, forgive me, Aquila, but perhaps you can.
After finally beating Minotaur's ass, we descend further down into Naruku, and we go into a room and find a gun. And now at this point in the game, I am now going to be dumping my stats after each level up into Dexterity. We move forward and find a room with a strange looking door. We go inside and it turns out to be a terminal room. Apparently this same terminal has also been in Mikado, and we have the honor of naming the terminal. I decide to just name it Mikado for convenience sake. After descending further down into Sky Tower, we come across an underground city, which, unsurprisingly I'm sure, this is the Unclean One's country. We take an elevator down to the observation platform, where we are then greeted by our second major boss, Medusa. And just like Minotaur, Medusa is a bitch. Allow me to tell you why. Just like Minotaur, Medusa has two skills that can make and break the fight: Taltham Shot and Snake's Fangs. Both of these skills are medium gun-based damage, but Snake's Fangs is the one you should worry about the most because it also has a 50% bind chance, which this early on in the game is a big kick in the Mara. And it also doesn't help that Snake's Fangs also targets multiple foes, and Taltham Shot only targets one. The first attempt actually goes pretty smoothly for the most part. I get Jonathan as my partner, which is a good thing because Medusa is weak to wind. However, there is still the problem of Flynn's magic usage being severely limited to items, which we don't have very much of, but we at least have more Zandstones than we did Bufu Stones at the Minotaur fight. And it also doesn't really help the fact that Medusa also resists guns. And unfortunately, this attempt does end with Medusa casting Taltham Shot, killing Pele, then casting Snake's Fangs, binding everybody, and then killing us with Rapid Needle. A move that the wiki does not list. My second attempt goes about the same way, so I yet again do more grinding. I fuse Elenon Sheet, which I then fuse into an Oni, and I also recruit a Wapo while I'm at it. I then attempt the fight again for my third and successful attempt. And man, let me tell you, Oni turns this fight from a challenge to a complete joke. And that is thanks to his skill, Fangbreaker. It's a physical attack that also acts as Tarunda. Thanks to this, Medusa's gun attacks aren't doing as much damage, and even if she does bind me with Snake's Fangs, the little damage that she is doing more than makes up for it. And with that, Medusa is no more. We get to the ground level where we meet two men who think we're angels from the ceiling, and they promptly off. And from here, we are now officially in the Unclean One's country, also known as Tokyo. We're then tasked with helping these Kelpie kill a demon called PLA, and so we do that and bring them his head, and they make a bridge so that we can get from Ueno to the Chiyoda region, where we have to find the counter demon force base. We find it, take a black Demonica suit that we're never going to wear, and then we just promptly leave. We head to Shinjuku and meet Hikaru, who tells us about a bookstore in Ikebukuro, all while Walter is very clearly splooging his pants. We go to the Shinjuku underground district and are tasked with a corpse cleanup. But before we do that, I go into the shop and buy elemental bullets. This right here is going to be the only and most convenient way to deal any magic damage. After we kill some corpses, we then have to take on Dollhead. This fight is the reason why I bought electric bullets, because now I no longer have to rely on magic attack items. The fight is really easy. She really can't do much other than try to inflict poison with Blight. And she does hit Flynn with Mudun, which that shit was pretty scary, but thankfully my demons, despite being poisoned, managed to pull through and take a win. After finding some corpses in the morgue and electrocuting Dollhead, we volunteer to kill a demon at the Metropolitan Government Office, and our reward is a Jirei Talisman that will be important later. We head to the office and fight Kuebiko and start the fight, and he proceeds to one-shot my Principality. What the fuck? Other than that setback, he is really easy, but unfortunately I forgot to get fire bullets from the shop, which is a blessing in disguise because he has Retaliate, which causes him to hit back if we hit him with a physical or gun attack, even if your gun attack is an elemental attack. Yeah, explain to me how that makes any sense. Besides that, with a few Agis and Agilaos, this grass-type Pokemon is turned to ash. After obtaining the Jirei Talisman and 4,000 Maka, I quickly head back to the shop to buy Force Rounds, and then head to Ikebukuro to use the Jirei Talisman on the wall blocking our path. The woman who seems to be the leader of this mission introduces herself as Hikaga and tells us about a demon called Xingwang Mu. We enter her domain and, say it with me, proceed to fight. However, engaging in this fight was a horrible idea because she is only taking 1 damage even with weakness exploitation. A bunch of Ring of Gaia members show up and proceed to try and kill her themselves, but they all just get eaten alive and they are somehow able to still be attacking her from the inside. But because of that, we are able to fight her properly. The first attempt goes okay until she uses Megaton Press, which kills everyone except for Flynn, and then a turn later she kills Flynn as well. My second attempt goes about the same, if not worse, so I go out and buy the Ace Bazooka. The Ace Bazooka is going to make and break the game, because even though its stats are significantly low, the amount of times it hits more than makes up for it, and it is a godsend for boss fights with exploitable weaknesses. With the Ace Bazooka, I go back to challenge Shin once again, and oh man, does this bazooka make a huge difference. This turns the fight from remotely worrisome to a complete and utter joke, and with a few more bazooka shots, Shin is no more.
This can't be true.
We head to Jiraku Bookstore and come across the Lilith horde from the forest, and well...
Hold still, Doodle. This is for your own good. Take that, and this, and this, and that, and this, I am SpongeBob, destroyer of evil!
Take it easy, it's just a drawing.
Well, anyway, after defeating the Lilith horde without being put into a lustful coma, we get to the end of the domain and find the Black Samurai and see this cinematic masterpiece.
Reunites one evening with her childhood friend and...
I'm afraid I can't hear you.
We proceed to arrest her and break her back to Mikado to be executed. She asks to have her mask taken off, and the executioners gladly do, and when they do take it off, to everyone's shock, she looks identical to Sister Gabby, and shortly after she is executed. The next day, we are called to the monastery and tasked with rescuing 3 of our fellows from Shinjuku National Park, which, if you played the Clipped Wings DLCs, you'll know who these guys are. So we go back down to Shinjuku and are in the next dungeon, Kagome Tower. So in this dungeon, we have to rescue these 3 fellows, and for each one we rescue, we have to fight a boss, and Walter and Jonathan escort 2 of them back to Mikado, leaving Isabeau as my only partner, and leaving us to rescue the 3rd and final fellow, where we have to fight the big bad schoolboy himself, Asmodius. And we really have to win, because if we don't, Isabeau is going to be forced into a marriage with this thing. And I really don't think she wants that. So, let's show this little shit what we're made of. Now, even though Asmodius does look threatening, he really doesn't have a lot going for him. He does have a skill called Hell's Torment, which divides a target's HP by 2/3 of their health, which can be scary if he follows it up with literally anything. But other than that though, he really has nothing else going for him. Just blow him off until he flies away. We rescue our 3rd and final fellow and go back to the monastery to find out that the Black Samurai has risen from the dead and fled back to Tokyo. Which, that's not creepy at all whatsoever. Anyway, we are now tasked to find her once again, and this time, we're capturing her dead rather than alive. Which we should have done to begin with. But hey, I'm not calling the shots here. Before we continue with our mission though, we are given a message by a samurai letting us know that some guy named Tayama from a group called the Ashurakai wants to meet with a samurai in Shibuya. We head down to Roppongi, then make our way to Shibuya and receive an incoming call from Tayama himself, telling us to meet at Club Milton. Before we do that though, we are told to go off a demon called Koga Saburo, who is actually inside Club Milton, so we're killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. We go to fight him, and man, is the bazooka a godsend for this fight. Because he resists gun, yes. Normally this would be terrible, but if it wasn't for the fact that the bazooka can hit 1 to 4 times, it basically negates his gun resistance. But this is also where I began to feel the effects of only wearing the default armor that was given to us at the beginning of the game. In fact, I've been feeling it ever since, like, Shinjuku or something, which is understandable. And the amount of times that I've seen that game over screen is too many times that I can't even count them. Anywho, I finished this fight just by freezing him to death and with Flint dead. After seeing Jonathan threaten to kill a man, we meet with Tayama, who tells us to kill a woman named Yuriko, who is in charge of the Ring of Gaia. Apparently, she is trying to hog all the energy from a device called the Yamato Perpetual Reactor, which generates all the power in Tokyo. We're told to go pose as new applicants for the Ring of Gaia in order to get inside, but we just straight up tell them that we're here to kill Yuriko instead, and they seem to be happy about that. Okay, if you're the leader of a group and everyone seems to want you dead, then you must be doing something really wrong. We go through the doors that the Ring of Gaia member was blocking and end up in Ginza. I go to the shop and sell my ace bazooka because I picked up a number 1 bazooka from somewhere I can't remember, only to buy a BB bazooka and sell the number 1. We go to this temple and are given a challenge. All 4 of us must carry a candle and get to the end before it burns out. And let me tell you something, this part sucks. Allow me to tell you why. Not only do we have to engage in fights with these red color enemies, but the candle slowly burns out after our turn. It also doesn't help the fact that enemies can attack the candle, which is complete and utter bullshit. This part is where I can't even use the bazooka because I forgot to mention that the bazooka is multi-target, and the risk of hitting an enemy with an element that they block is simply too high. So my build is going to be as good as useless, and the fact that there are infernos in every encounter makes things worse because Flynn is weak to fire, and if they use fire breath, Flynn is as good as dead. After God knows how many failed attempts, I somehow, someway make it to the end, where we then have to go through our final trial, and that final trial is fighting Taraka. The fight isn't anything special, it's just like any other random encounter. So we just blow through her and go through the door. Upon entering the room, we fall down to a mysterious room to take a personality quiz. I go left for every single one, simply because I agree with them and I'm also just trying to get the neutral ending. And upon entering the third and final door, we see the Black Samurai, who turns out to be Yuriko, and Yuriko turns out to be the demon Lilith. She goes on about how humans and demons are of the same essence and how humans of both countries are turning themselves into demons. Jonathan then tries to smite her down, but Walter jumps in his way before he can, and Walter just walks away. After all of that, we go through the shelter ruins, escape, and head back to Ginza. Upon arriving in Ginza, we see Walter talking to Hikaru and promptly leaving. Hikaru tells us about a cafe in Shinjuku called Cafe Florida and a guy named Fujiwara. She then gives us a matchbox that proves we're members of the Hunters Association so that we can get into Cafe Florida. We take the terminal to Shinjuku and arrive at Cafe Florida to see Walter struggling at the entrance. Thankfully for him, we have the matchbox so that we can get inside. Inside, we see Hikaru along with Fujiwara and a man named Skins, who is carrying a katana that will be important later. They ask us if we think we could live in harmony, to which I say yes, and then we are told that they may try to migrate to Mikado. After a swell conversation, Fujiwara tells us how to get below the hills of Roppongi. We leave Cafe Florida and head to Midtown where we have to fight Tenkai. Tenkai is a bit of a weird boss. He resists everything in the game, but he really doesn't have a lot of HP and can't really do anything to hurt you either. So really all you can do is slap him around until he dies.
The glimmering of the stars begin to move. The chain has been broken. That's right. Yes, I have been waiting for this. Pinocchio, the next time. I am privileged to serve our master.
After stopping Tenkai, we make our way further into Midtown and meet an angel called Mastema, who tells us that he is being vigilant for the Ring of Gaia and someone who is stealing red pills. He removes the barrier that I forgot to mention so that we can proceed to Reverse Hills. We find a guy in a gas mask that gives us a key card to the elevator and promptly leaves, and we go to a different floor. We mysteriously come across a bunch of kids on this floor and brush it off like it's nothing. We enter a room where another gas masked man is working with 2 kids, and he gives us his key card and promptly leaves. We come across, say it with me, another gas masked man who gives us a brown bottle. You can take a guess as to why it's brown. We find yet again another key card and go to an industrial looking room. As it turns out, Reverse Hills is where the red pills are being made. We leave, and for some reason the building is now filled with pink stuff, and we get yet another cinematic masterpiece.
Walter? Yeah. I'm Walter. I'm the son of a fisherman. But I'm scared of fish! I must go tell everyone!
What?
How cowardly of you, dashing off without me! Then I'll admit something as well. In all candor, I am a cat. Meow. This floor is so deliciously warm.
What is happening? Is this the work of that demon? Ugh, it's always like this. Demons here, demons there, demons, demons, demons. It's also demoning.
Yes, oh my god!
Well, after that acid trip, Tayama explains to us why he is making the red pills and reminds us to kill Yuriko. We are then called by Abbot Hugo, who tells us to return to Mikado and go to Shinjuku. But before we do that, we go to the shop to buy fire and ice rounds, just in case I need them, and then we go to Shinjuku, only to see Sister Gabby standing in front of a giant cocoon. We head inside the cocoon only to see the archangels of literal heaven, and turns out Gabby herself was the Archangel Gabriel all this time. She explains that they are taking over Mikado and that its people will live under God's rulership. Now, we are at a crucial point of the game, the route split. This is where we can either side with Walter or Jonathan. For the sake of getting the neutral ending, I side with Jonathan, whose objective is to kill Lilith. So we head to the temple and take the secret entrance. We then have to fight Gary Makala, who proceeds to just wipe the floor with us on our first attempt. On my second attempt, I just throw up a Tetrakarn shield and he just proceeds to kill himself. After dealing with the one-eyed elephant, we go deeper into the domain, take out Dakini, and we are finally able to face Lilith. We get into the fight and come to find out that Lilith has a gun weakness. Now, that should make the fight easy, right? Wrong. She has skills that can just end your life in a heartbeat. She has Dream Needle, which has a 70% chance to sleep. She has Maziodyne, Megidola, and worst off, Luster Candy, which buffs every stat once. My first attempt actually goes pretty okay until she kills my Zoshoten with Maziodyne, kills Fun with a normal attack, and then just proceeds to kill whatever is left of my party. For my second attempt, I bring in Pabilsag instead of Guishian so that I can get more gun coverage, and this right here seems to be the ticket because in no time flat, Lucifer's bitch goes down.
It's all over.
Indeed it is.
No,
For the gate to the expanse is being opened as we speak. By a youth, armed with knowledge and wisdom. By the hand of one you know very well. Your friend.
The gate to the expanse?
After Lilith tells us about what Walter is currently doing at Camp Ichigaya, we quickly head over there to ensure that he cannot open the gate to the expanse. After going up and down stairs and going around locked doors, we finally get to the room where the Yamato Perpetual Reactor is being held, and we see Walter there with a dead Taiyama, who then proceeds to activate the Yamato Perpetual Reactor. We see 4 white figures that look like people we know, and then we end up in the Counter Demon Force base that is for some reason destroyed. We head outside only to be greeted by a desert wasteland, and come to the conclusion that we're in Tokyo, and for some reason, Mikado is no longer above it. We start walking around to see if there is anything left of Tokyo, and we come across an underground city, where we are then taken prisoner. We're then greeted by a man named Kiyoharu, and Jesus Christ, dude, do you have enough crosses on your face? Who then says that we're his guests and takes us to meet his friend Akira. Akira explains to us that he had a dream of a light space and was told that samurai from the eastern kingdom of Mikado would be arriving here in Tokyo. And he, for some reason, woke up with the Yamato Perpetual Reactor's remote in his hand. He says that if we defeat someone called Pluto the Tormentor, he will give us the remote to the reactor. Given no other choice, we accept this task and head to Pluto Castle, where we then have to take on the head honcho himself. And let me tell you something, Pluto is a bastard, and here is the reason why. He only has 2 skills that he can use, Sunny Ray and Vulnera. Now, that means the fight is a cakewalk, right? Wrong. Sunny Ray is a fire attack that has a 70% chance to poison anyone it hits, which is horrible news because Flynn is weak to fire. And he also has Vulnera, which is a medium almighty attack that has a 50% chance to bind anyone it hits. And I, unfortunately, have no way to block these ailments. Oh yeah, and also to make your day even worse, his physical attack can hit multiple times, which means your death if he is smirking. If he's not smirking, it only maybe means your death. Yeah, so my first attempt does not go well at all because he kills Flynn in the first turn, and because of that, I had no way to cure the poison, so my party had to live with the poison for the majority of the fight, if not the entire fight. For my second attempt, I remember that he has an ice weakness, so I equip the ice bullets and the fight goes more smoothly. Or so I thought. He uses Vulnera, binds everybody, kills Flynn with Sunny Ray, and then just kills Chimera with a normal attack. My third attempt goes the same way, so I go out and do more grinding. But then, something amazing happens. My Chimera evolves into Orthrus, and anyone who's played an SMT game before knows that Orthrus blocks fire. So I go back to challenge Pluto for my 5th attempt, and man is it satisfying to see Sunny Ray getting drained. With Orthrus draining Sunny Ray and Flynn dealing 1 to 4 hits of ice damage, we got this fight in the bag as long as Pluto doesn't spam Vulnera, which is what he did in my 4th attempt. However, he doesn't do that this fight for some reason, so he just lets us win with no problems whatsoever. Akira gives us the remote to the reactor and tells us that he's going to name the new Tokyo the Eastern Kingdom of Mikado, to which he'll become King Akira. Wait, why does that sound familiar? Well, anyways, we activate the reactor and end up in the Counter Demon Force base once again. We then meet this universe's version of Akira, who looks nothing like his blasted Tokyo counterpart, and then we go outside to see Tokyo engulfed in flames. We then head to Shinjuku where we have to fight Vitala, so we whip his ass, whip Mahama Yuri's ass, and then we go back to the Yamato Perpetual Reactor to fight Kenji. And Kenji is a bigger bastard than Pluto ever was. Once again, here is the reason why. Kenji has double Pluto's HP and has access to more skills. Unlike Pluto, who had 2 unique skills, Kenji has 3. Conqueror Spirit, which is 2 hits of heavy physical damage, Deceit Chain, which is an almighty attack that has a 50% bind chance, and the worst one, Ancient Curse, which has an 80% chance to inflict every single ailment to anyone it hits, which is just like Lucifer's Root of Evil skill in Nocturne, but 10 times worse. I died so many times at this fight that I don't even know how many times I did. Normally I would tell you what I did to make the fight easier, but I can't really even say anything because this fight just all came down to luck, and I just had to pray that I smirked whenever my turn ended so that he would miss me with Ancient Curse. And finally I somehow beat him. Now that we've finally beat Kenji, we are at the most crucial point in the game, the alignment lock. I walk forward and I see Steven, meaning that we are locked into the neutral ending. Steven tells us to defeat the 4 white supremacists that have hold over the Force so that we can return to our own universe, so we just go around and just obliterate them all. And then we end up in the Counter Demon Force base where we are met by Isabeau. She tells us that demons are swarming in from the expanse and that angels and demons are about to enact war, so we return to Cafe Florida where we come up with a solution to call upon the guardian deity of Tokyo himself, Masakado. Flynn then proceeds to unsheath Masakado's katana, telling us that he is indeed the reincarnation of Masakado himself. We go to this big-ass boulder in Ginza where Masakado is. He tells us that before we do anything else, we must fill a chalice with the Great Spirit of Hope so that we can get into Purgatorium later on. Oh, whoops, spoilers. And now for the worst part of this game, and, well, I guess the ending, the neutral required side quests. Because of how many side quests there are, I'm not going over every single one. So, the only 2 significant things that happen in this is that this girl named Nozomi becomes Queen of the Fairies, and now we're the #1 hunter in all of Tokyo. Because of this, the chalice is now filled with the Great Spirit of Hope, so we give it to Masakado, head up Sky Tower, and Masakado literally eats the barrier that's preventing us from going into Mikado, and now it is on to Purgatorium. Right off the bat, we are already getting swarmed by angels, but these guys right here are really weak, so just spam them with wind until they die. The same can also be said for Casfiel as well. Shoot him with your gun until he dies. We get to the terminal of the dungeon where we have to fight the dick on a chariot himself, Mara. Literally just spam ice until he dies, which is effectively shooting the terminal guy's dick off.
Oh shit! I shot him in the dick! You shot me in the dick! Ah!
Up next, we have to fight Haniel, who is really just more or less the same like every other encounter. He does have a skill called Flash that has a 50% chance to insta-kill you, but if you have a demon that blocks physical, then it's not even a threat, so you can just cock block him and take your win. Next up is Seraph, and he is a little bit different. He has every heavy damaging magic skill, and of course has his own signature skill, Lightwing, which repels everything except Almighty and whichever skill type the color of the shield reflects. So for example, if it's blue, use Ice. If it's green, use Wind. Hitting him with the one element that he doesn't reflect will break the shield entirely, and thus you'll be able to use all your skills up until he casts it again. And Almighty attacks do not break it, so don't even bother trying with those, but they will damage him. Other than that though, he really has nothing. Just spam whichever skill he doesn't reflect or Almighty damage and take your win. After Seraph, we beat Azrael, who was just a complete and utter joke. And now, we are at the Gates of Paradise. We go through the door and have to fight God's Chariot, Merkaba. Merkaba in the first phase isn't that difficult. He does have severe wind and lightning attacks, which can be troublesome if one of your demons is weak to either one. But the one skill you should look out for is Chariot, which is medium almighty damage with a Secunda effect, which can mean your death if he spams it. As long as you have Secunda, albeit from the skill or items, you'll be fine. His second phase is a different story. He has every skill he had in the first phase, but now he has 2 new ones, Hexagram and Shalt Not Resist. Hexagram is a 100% almighty insta-kill skill if it lands, and Shalt Not Resist is an almighty attack that can hit 2 times with a Raccoon effect, which can mean your death if he spams it, just like Chariot, but almost guaranteed. And because Flynn's natural defense is at the lowest it could possibly be, this is guaranteed to kill him. Now, this would be a problem if it wasn't for the fact that Shalt Not Resist is an AoE attack, and even then, he just used Chariot and Thunder Rain, which my Fenrir drains. And he just used normal attacks on Quetzalcoatl, who repels it. And then I just gun him down.
This cannot be. We are the heralds of the Lord. How have we been thus defeated? Know this. Humans are not strong enough to live without the Lord. Those who yearn for us will surely arise again. When that time comes, may we meet again.
And this is why I absolutely love the bazooka guns in this game. We see a white light and end up back in Mikado, where we obtain the Great Spirit of Goodwill. Isabeau separates from us to persuade the people of Mikado to migrate down to Tokyo, and now we are left to get the Great Spirit of Spite from the final dungeon. Let's do this. So the Hall of Eternity has a gimmick where every door you go into, it seems as though nothing has changed, but when you walk out, you'll be able to see 2 chests instead of 1. Yep, it's one of those dungeons where you have to find the right goddamn door to proceed. The best way to find the right door is going up to it to see if the exclamation point is on it. It means that it is the correct door, so we go through it and have to fight Belial. Unlike most bosses, Belial actually has a gimmick. If he detects any buffs on you, or debuffs on him, he will heal himself with Diarahan if he's taken any damage, and will use Silent Prayer to remove them, so don't bother wasting your MP with buffs or debuffs. Aside from that, he doesn't have anything to hurt you either, but he does have Miragidyne and Trisagion, which will kill Flynn, and he does end up doing that, but thankfully my party does end up finishing the fight. You know, I'm starting to notice how many boss fights I have finished with Flynn dead. Up next, we have to fight Lucifuge, who is just completely pathetic.
My lord, please.
After defeating Belial and Lucifuge, I fuse Metatron. Yeah, I just realized I went this whole game without saying what demons I fused and recruited. After fusing Metatron, we finally make our way to the Hall of Eternal Light, which is a series of teleporting doors. In all seriousness, it's not that big of an issue, it just comes down to process of elimination. After finally getting through the teleporting door puzzle, we are now finally at the Morningstar Hall. We get to the end of the hall, open the door, and have to face the final boss of the run, Lucifer.
Look up at me and behold the demon lord Lucifer. The light of hope you saw in the world of the sons of man. Will it shine without wavering, even before me? I am the radiant morning star which lights the way to the sons of man. Come. I shall grant your yearning desire for battle.
Now, since Lucifer is the final boss here, you would expect him to be hard, right? No, in fact, he is completely neutered compared to Merkaba. Kingly One just returns a demon to your stock, which I guess is supposed to be threatening. Evil Shine is a heavy almighty attack with a 70% chance to panic anyone it hits. Panic itself is not that big of a deal. This skill would actually be threatening if it binded instead. Then there is Morning Star, which will divide your remaining HP by half. So, like I said, Lucifer is easier than Merkaba, mostly due to his dumb AI and the fact that he has the Dollar Tree version of Merkaba's unique skills. And I don't know what it is, but there is something so satisfying about seeing Lucifer getting hit multiple times with a gun attack. Maybe it's because he's the final boss and I'm shooting the Lord of Demons with a gun. Well, anyways, we complete the first phase in no time flat and move on to the second. The second phase is more or less the same, except now he is using Evil Shine more often, which is pretty scary because it's still heavy damage. Yeah, and I wasn't kidding about his AI being dumb, because he kept on throwing out myriad arrows, even though Rangda repels gun. So, just like Merkaba, I gun him down, beating the final boss of the run.
This cannot be. My paradise has been brought low. I am the son of man. The sons of man are not strong enough to live while repressing their desires. I shall see you again when that time comes.
We obtain the Great Spirit of Spite and head back to Cafe Florida, where we see all of our friends from Mikado inside. We give Masakado both spirits and see the bedrock getting removed. We're then thanked by the goddess of Tokyo and see the credits. Well, there you have it, everybody. It is possible to beat Shin Megami Tensei 4 without Demon Whisper and with only the default armor. You know, I was a little bit disappointed with the final bosses. Don't get me wrong, they were kinda challenging, but like, they weren't as challenging as Kenji or Pluto. For the final bosses, I was really expecting to be struggling to stay alive while I have to bring out whatever demons I have as a last resort. But I just didn't get that, so I was a little bit disappointed with the final bosses. Anyway, so yeah, this is the first ever challenge run that I've ever done in this kind of format, and I do plan on doing others in the near future. As for my starting Magatama only run in Nocturne, the current one that I'm doing right now, I plan on scrapping and just redoing it from the ground up, mostly because the current one is in a format that I just don't really like anymore, and that's way too inconvenient. So yeah, but don't worry, it's still gonna happen, it's just the current one I'm doing is going to be scrapped. Well, anyway, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you guys in the next challenge run. Peace out.